Hi, if you're joining right now, I'm just doing a get ready with me video. I'll also be reviewing some speaking skills. But if you want to be respectful and to make a comment about who you are and what's going on with you, hi Max, then I would love to hear from you. But mostly today, I have a little bit of time while I'm getting ready for my final Speak for Yourself speaking training class. And I thought I'd use the time to do a get ready with me as well as review the things that I'm going to be talking about today. So you are welcome. I hope you're having a beautiful day. Please feel free to share, especially if you're a content creator. Hi, how am I? I'm good. I am traveling today, doing a photo shoot this afternoon, doing my course today, and then the photo shoot this afternoon. Then tomorrow I'm driving down to Irvine to deliver a training for another company and to a big company, and I'm doing well. So it's a busy week, but I'm glad to be here. Hi, Will. Welcome. So if you're a content creator especially, please let me know what you create content about, because we are few and far between on this app. Most people are consumers of content, spectators, allies, supporters, advocates, and no, you're not. Okay, great. Well, nice to meet you then. Yeah, it's a lot today. It's a big day. There's a lot going on. So yeah, most of us are, most of the content creators, we're the small minority here. So if you are a content creator, I'd love to know about it. If not, and if you're here because we already know each other, you follow my content, or you're interested in speaking skills, I'd love to know that. If you just happened along in this moment, I would love to know that too. Good afternoon too, Grego, Jermaine. Nice to see you. So I'm just going to do my makeup while I get ready. And I'm also probably going to think out loud about some of the things I want to review for my speaking training. Today's the final class of 5. Oops. Eek, this isn't working. Today's the final class, so I want to do a little bit of a review for the people who are in the course. And so I thought I'd think that out loud while I do my makeup, although we'll see if I can actually parallel process that way. If you would like to converse or share something or ask something, I'm happy to try to be challenged in that way. I'm going to ask that everyone really be respectful. The lives recently have gotten kind of silly in terms of trolls. So, I mean, not like a troll is going to necessarily listen to me, but there's been a lot of misogynistic trolling I've seen in different people's lives, including mine. So I really like to avoid that since, we're in a world that we have the possibility of changing. So good afternoon. You must be somewhere where on the East Coast? No, even further, maybe Europe, Grego? Because it's not afternoon still. I guess it might be afternoon on the East Coast. You have a question. Okay, yeah, I'm happy to hear a kind and or respectful question. I'm not usually so cautious about how people show up, but recently it's just been bad. You have 6 albums under your belt. Wow, congratulations for you. So you are a creator. Hard to get my views. Oh, okay, so you're creating content you're creating content about your albums. Are you using sound bites from your music? Well, I haven't seen your account, so I can't really give you specific thoughts on it. But I would say that as a general rule, if you can combine the types of content between little clips of your music, I would always have a clip of your music in the background and then have that uploaded as the sound. And again, this is for me, I'm not a music creator. I really don't know that much about being a music creator, but as a content creator, I would say that I would intersperse the types of content that share who you are behind the scenes, a little bit about your personality or your journey or your music process, your music creation process, your studio, your instruments, things like that, behind the scenes stuff, with information about the message of your music. So I would put it in 3 categories. One is creating trends. That would mean doing things that other people are doing, but maybe with your music in the background. The second one is straight to camera information about your music. And now for you, that might blend with 3 because you might not have a specific message that you're sharing other than your music. If you do have a specific message or a deeper why about why you create your music or some change that you want to see in the world, it's great to talk about that. So for you, the straight to camera informational videos might be similar to the behind the scenes. So I would work with those 3 things. Yeah, the messaging part. So I don't know if you have a message behind your music. So for example, the way that I break that down for my content, I'm a speaking skills and communication skills coach, and I serve women in their 40s, 50s, and 60s with improving their voice, accessing their stories, telling their stories, taking up space on social media, and sharing who they are, because I believe that the narrative on aging needs to change in our culture. So my content is a lot about speaking skills or women's empowerment or how we think about aging in our culture. So I'll do a lot of direct-to-camera videos like that. But then I'll intersperse that with trends. So I'll do a dance trend or a silly trend or a fun trend. And then other times, and I'm not as good at this third one, I'm working on developing this a little more, showing behind the scenes. That might be a daily vlog or what I do every morning. I do that a little bit more in these lives. I don't really mostly do them in my content, although I would like to do it more. I'd like to do 1-minute vlogs, that kind of thing. So for you, if you do have a message behind it, but you're not good at showing it, then yeah, trends for sure. Then I would think about getting a little more clarity around how you could describe what that meaning is. And, I'm obviously biased. I'm a speaking coach, so I'm coming from the perspective of that it's powerful for you to know what your story is, what your message is, what your intent is, what the why is, what kind of change you want to see in the world, and learn how to speak about it. But I get that musicians sometimes are musicians because their language is music, just like dancers are sometimes dancers because their language is dance, and they're not necessarily great at bringing words to what it is they're trying to create. I personally think it's a great endeavor, a powerful endeavor, but as a musician, it might be different. So again, the caveat is I'm coming from the perspective of supporting people who have words to share and not knowing very much about how one might approach it from for a musician's point of view. So yeah, I hope that's helpful. Administrator, question, is that your real hair color or did you dye it? No, this is my hair color. It's explicitly not dyed. It would be really hard to dye it this color. This is my hair color. It's more dark in the back, in the length of it, because I don't know, I guess I'm going gray over time. So no, this is all, I stopped dyeing my hair about 4 years ago, so it's all my real hair color. Uh-oh, I have someone joining my live. Hold on. Definitely helpful. Good, I'm glad. Okay, so hold on one second. You look great. Unless you have a filter on, then disregard the comment. I try not to have filters. TikTok is funny on the lives. They actually put filters on. I turned the filter off right before I went live, but they do, the lives are filtered, so my skin is pretty good, but it doesn't look this good. So I don't know how to turn the filters off, though. Hold on one sec. I actually don't really like to have filters on. Let me see if I can make sure that sometimes they default to having filters on, which I think is a bit uncool. Okay, so here, I'm gonna turn to my face filter. They do have a filter on my face, smooth, so there, it's off now. Still looks a little filtered to me, in my opinion. And then my face shape is filtered. See, this is their automatic. And then my eyes, they're mostly off. So yeah, the filters are mostly off, but I even would say there's still a filter on. Hey Jen, how's it going? Think through the things I want to review in the course today. So I'm gonna get my notebook out. I'm gonna parallel process. I'm gonna talk with you. I'm gonna try to read comments. No, I'm traveling, Ron. So I'm actually in a hotel that was featured in the movie Sideways. I always think I'm so great at parallel processing, but the truth is I'm not. Max from Arizona. Okay, welcome. So yeah, I'm doing a get ready with me video. I have the final in my speaking training course in 45 minutes. So I thought I would do my makeup while also trying to parallel process while I think out loud about and review the things that we're going to be talking about in the course. But we're just chatting So far, I have a nice, respectful group of people. It's been really not great recently. I was just saying to people that were here earlier that in the lives, there's been a lot of just the stupid, misogynistic trolling happening. And it's kind of put a bit of a downer on doing lives for me, and I know for other female creators. But so far, we got nice people in here. So and a lot of men for some reason. I don't know. My account is starting to have more men in it. I'm not really sure exactly why. Your hair color dictates you're older, but your face says you're young. Yeah, I'm 57. I'm going to be 58 in January. And yeah, my hair, but you can have white hair even if you're younger. And again, you can have white hair even if you're older. And like I say, I try to turn off all the filters, and my skin is pretty good. I'm going to say my skin is pretty good for my age. I take care of it, and I have good, lucky genes. And TikTok does filter. So I'm going to say, even though I turned off all the filters, this is still a little bit filtered looking to me. Right, Jen? Jen knows me for a long time, for 50 years. So it looks filtered, right? I turned off all the filters, but it still looks filtered. Overall, you look great. Thanks. I appreciate that. I do have a little bit of makeup on, working on putting more. So since there's no specific questions, just a little, right? Yeah, all the filters are off, but as far as I can tell, but I think TikTok just puts them on everybody all the time. It's their standard default. Okay, so unless anybody has, but it could really be you. You are important. Have a great day on purpose. Oh, I love that comment. Thank you. I love that comment. Oh, and the roses. Thank you. I really appreciate that. I'm feeling so happy that I have nice, respectful people in here today. And this comment, I don't know this username that says you're important. Have a great day on purpose. I'm gonna say that's true for everyone. And I have this belief, very strong belief, that what we do in the world, even in the smallest of ways, makes a difference. And so when you come into someone's life and you say something simple like that, it just creates a beautiful ripple effect. And anybody reading it is impacted in a little way. I'm impacted. And so pay attention to the small things that you do in life, because they make a difference. Administrator, are you American? I am born in Canada. So I'm Canadian, and I am naturalized in the U.S. So I have a U.S. citizenship as well. I've been in 3 years. When I'm 60, I will be in the U.S. for as long as I lived in Canada, which is pretty mind-blowing. I moved from Canada to the U.S. when I was 30. And in 2.5 years, when I'm 60, I will be half my life in Canada and half my life in the U.S., which is pretty darn crazy if you think about it. Hey, Jen, you remember when I left Canada? Dual citizenship. Yeah, hi, Mason. The States doesn't recognize dual citizenship, so I kind of see it as to both countries I'm a member. Yep. Yeah, we had that. Gosh, I totally remember we had that lunch a couple days before I drove away on Yonge Street. Does not seem like 30 years. 28 to be exact, but it does not seem like 28 years ago. It's true. All right, so if there are no specific questions or comments that I need to specifically address, I'm going to think out loud. But I come home a lot, it's true. I do. I used to try to come home twice a year. More recently, it's been more like once a year. Though, of course, when my mom was sick, it was 10 times a year. Okay, so I'm going to right now think out loud. And if you're willing to hang out, I think it's just you and me, Jen, which is totally cool. So you don't want to type it. We'll connect later. I've got a crazy week this week. I'm in Santa Barbara for a photo shoot today, and then I've got my speaking course this morning beforehand, and then I got to drive to Irvine, and I'm training for a big company. tomorrow all day, and I got to drive back. So this week I'm teaching a training. I have started to do, I have my speaking training course. And I also train for big companies with their content. I just started. Well, it's been kind of a work in progress for the last year or two. And so the one I'm training tomorrow is their content. I'm working for a company training. In a big company, for a big company. And their speaking training it's not the same as mine, but it's somewhat synergistic. So today, the training that I have is mine, and we're going to be doing a review because it's the last of 5 days. I'm going to try to talk with you, read your comments if there are any. Luckily, we're a teeny little group here, a little intimate little group. Do my makeup and review my notes and write down the things that I want to talk about in my class today. So one of the first things that we talked about in the class that I'm going to review with the group is masculine and feminine speaking styles. Now, what I call masculine speaking is very direct, pointed, complete, and landed. And what I call feminine speaking practice is when we think out loud in a spiral, sometimes moving forward, sometimes backwards, sometimes restating the thought, sometimes pausing in the middle of a sentence, getting confused. It's basically verbal processing. The best makeup you can ever wear is your smile. Oh, thank you, Bob. You know what? Luckily, makeup, which is super fun, I recommend you try it. We can all do it. And smiling are not mutually exclusive. But I really appreciate the compliment. Thank you. So feminine speaking practice is when we verbally process out loud. And I always have done it my entire life. But before I gave it that name or recognized that it was processing verbally out loud, I used to judge myself for it. I used to think, oh, you talk too much, you didn't really say anything, you didn't get to the point, blah, 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 that was just blah, 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 blah. But when we claim it and say there's value in verbal processing and in thinking out loud, and then we name it feminine speaking practice, we get to use it for all the power that it has. And one of the most important things I've discovered is that you look really good with gray hair. Thank you. Hi. Hi, Move. How's it going? Nice to see you. And when we name it and claim it, then we have the opportunity to say to another person, is it okay if I verbally process right now? I want to just think out loud for a couple minutes. Are you okay with that? And when we create that kind of container for it, it gives the person who's listening a framework for holding that space for you while you think out loud. And it gives clarity to the process that makes space for it to feel okay. Whereas if we do it unconsciously, sometimes it can feel like we're just taking up space and not really saying anything. But one of the things that I like to work on in my course is everybody getting a chance to verbally process, speaking in the feminine, with a very explicit container. Usually there's a time frame, because I believe that when we have a container, that's when it allows us to verbally process and speak in the feminine in a way that's free, because the feminine needs a masculine container to hold that space for it. So I create the masculine container by creating a time frame, and then people speak out loud, think out loud, verbally process out loud for that period of time. And then I'll usually ask them to speak in the masculine. And that means take all of the learning, all of the thinking that they have come to by doing their feminine speaking practice and saying it in a clear, concise, and landed sentence, which is speaking in the masculine. I believe that masculine speaking practice and feminine speaking practice are both incredibly important and incredibly useful and powerful, but they work best when we are clear about which one it is we are using. So that's one of the things we're going to be reviewing. What else? Oh my gosh, there's so many things. Landing the period. Landing the period. Oh, Move, thank you. That was so cute. We're going to talk about landing the period. And landing the period can be used in any speaking practice, but it's often very clear and very needed in speaking in the masculine. And that is when you finish the thought by sending the message that this thought is now complete. That's a landed period. Many times when we feel nervous or maybe uncertain or just out of habit, we tend to speak and trail off with our thoughts and have the sense that maybe there's something else we need to say. And when we do that, then we have other people thinking that maybe there's more that we're going to say. So that's an example of not landing the period, of speaking in a way that has the person who's listening unclear on whether the thought is done. When we land the period, the person who's listening to us knows the thought is done. And if you listen to people, you'll be surprised to find how often people do not land the period when they speak. They speak with this open-ended tonality that has people wondering if they're done. And it really takes away, it really reduces the amount of authority that you have when you don't land the period. So we're going to be talking about that. We're going to be talking about 1-minute stories. 1-minute stories are something that I use on TikTok a lot. I love TikTok because it creates a format and a structure for practicing 1-minute stories. 1-minute stories are taking any idea, any content that we want to develop. And the way I teach 1-minute stories is that we break it into 5 groupings, like 5 sections, just like we would do a 5-paragraph essay, which they teach in English in the States. So the first part is introducing the topic and who it's for. That might sound something like, here are my top 3 speaking skills, tips for content creators who want to have an impact. So that would be like the first intro piece. And then I would share 3 things, because I teach that in 1-minute story format, the easiest way to create a 1-minute story, either by pre-planning it or doing it in the moment, is to think in terms of 3s. Those 3 things could be 3 consecutive things, that step by step by step in terms of time. It could be the top 3 things. It could be any order of 3 things. So then I would give the first speaking skill, the second speaking skill, and the third speaking skill. And then at the end, I would relate it back to the audience or create a call to action. So when you follow the structure for 1-minute story, come up with a content idea and present it. Share 3 facts about it, and then end with a call to action or some kind of connection with the listener. You have a very concise way of creating 1-minute story, which is really powerful for social media, but it's also powerful for forming seeds of ideas that can be strung together into a longer talk. When you get more practiced in creating 1-minute stories, you can create them pretty quickly on the fly. And so if someone was to ask me a question, I could at least take a shot at it. It might not be my best 1-minute story, but if someone was to throw out a topic area, like for example, say I was to say, let's talk about pause. Oh, there's another thing. So now, granted, I've talked about pause a fair amount, so it's not going to be completely out of the blue. But say someone would say, okay, Lisa, talk about pause. Then, and this is just me trying this on the fly, so we'll see how this goes. Oh shoot, I just remembered something else. So before I do it, I have to write down these other things. Dynamics of speed. Okay, all right. If you follow me, you probably know that I love pause as a speaking skill. And here are just 3 of the many benefits you get from speaking about pause. First, it gives you time to connect with yourself, with your message, and with your audience. The second benefit of a pause is it gives your listener a chance to digest what you have just said to them. And the third benefit of pause is it creates intrigue and curiosity about what you're going to say next. If you practice pause, you're going to find some of these techniques are super powerful. And if you find any other ones, let me know. Okay, so that was an example. My closing was not very good. And the other parts I was making up as I go. But the idea, hi Sherry, how's it going? But the idea is that when you use my model for a 1-minute story, which includes 3 reflections on any particular topic, you can refine it so that you get better and better at it, but you can also use that structure to speak extemporaneously pretty easily. The other benefit of using 3s in 1-minute stories, or actually in even longer stories, is it gives the speaker as well as the listener a framework to hang it on so it becomes easier to remember. So pause, that's another thing we're going to be reviewing. Sherry, I'm doing a get ready with me and chat, as well as a review of my final speaking course today, things I'm going to be talking about. So I just talked about feminine, masculine speaking practices, landing the period, pause. Oh, dynamics of speed. Okay, so dynamics of speed. Many people will tell me that they speak too fast. I'll hear it in my comments. I'll hear it when people come into my speaking training. They'll say, I speak too fast. And Sherry, you're also extremely good at pause. So you know this. But many people come in and say, I speak too fast. I've been told I need to slow down. No. You don't need to slow down. If you speak slowly, it sounds like this, and that's kind of weird. No, you don't need to speak slowly. The way you give the sense of speaking slowly is speak as quickly as you like, but articulate, so that when you're speaking quickly, your articulation makes it so that your words can be understood. And then intersperse that speaking with pauses. In addition to articulation, using pause, using dynamics of speed can also help. So dynamics of speed are, well, the 3 dynamics of speed are speaking quickly with articulation, and then the second one is using articulated, how would we call it? What's the word? I need a different word. It's like punctuation. Dink, dink, dink. There's a word for it, and I'm blanking on what it is. In music. Sharp, punctuated. What's the word? I'm blanking on it. So one of the things, in fact, this isn't on the room content. So the way they teach this is they say sometimes speak super fast, and then staccato. Staccato slow. Staccato slow is a powerful way to speak. I wouldn't do it that much, but intersperse that with speaking super fast. And then add pause. And those 3 things are going to give you dynamic of speed that will make a huge difference in this idea that you need to speak slowly. We don't need to speak slowly. We just need to use the dynamics of speed. It really helps big ideas land. Yeah, staccato. Thanks, Sherry. God, my lipstick's not working out for me today. Hold on. I think trying to put lipstick on while you're talking is not the best combination. Okay. All right. Let's see. What are the other things? Okay, I got staccato, dynamics of speed. God, we've done so much, and I know I'm forgetting some of the things. Oh, well, of course, listening. How we listen impacts how we speak, and how we speak impacts how we listening. Listen, the power of listening. And I equate that to partner dancing. How we follow impacts how a leader leads a dance, and how a leader leads a dance impacts how a person follows. So there is synergy between leading and following, just like there is between speaking and listening. How we listen is leading the speaking, and vice versa. Okay, prompts, let me see. Masculine structure, landing the period. Oh, yeah, we talk a little bit about nervous system regulation. But the one thing I like about nervous system, I like pause as a nervous system regulator. The other thing that came up from this class that I learned in teaching this class that was super powerful, and I haven't shared it anywhere, I think I need to make a video on it. Most people think we need to regulate ourselves before we speak. Most people think we need to calm ourselves and breathe and get into a mindset and a physical state where we're ready to speak. The truth is that we can start speaking, notice that we are completely dysregulated and or nervous, and by how we use, especially the dynamics of speed, including pause, we can regulate our nervous system as we speak. We can change our state and calm our nerves by using techniques that connect us with ourselves as we are speaking. It's the biggest aha I got from teaching this particular course by watching people do it a few times. And I think it's a different perspective than we generally have. Generally, we really think that's why you pause. So you know this already. When I see it in action, it makes it clear to me that we don't have to be held hostage by this idea of being ready. And how, most of the things in my speaking course I relate to my background as an actor. And it's a similar process that I learned as an actor, which is that in the middle of acting, people will sometimes feel emotional, or they'll go down a different route than they really want to. And then when they come back to acting in, say, in a course or whatever, they'll start to get themselves ready, like prepare themselves, like fix themselves, pull it all together. And I remember acting teachers say, don't pull it together. Start right there. That is your lifeblood. Your emotions, the real emotions that you're feeling right now, are the life and blood of your story. They are the essence of your ability to connect with the other person who's in this scene or in this acting role. And so there's this tendency we have as human beings to want to pull ourselves together and fix ourselves so that we can begin. And I suspect this is a metaphor for life. I suspect that in life, we're mostly trying to pull ourselves together so that we can begin. When in truth, the power is beginning right where we are with all of that juiciness that is our our delicate human experience in life, and starting with that instead of pulling ourselves together. And then if we need to regulate ourselves or orient ourselves in the middle of it, to do it as part of the practice. That's so good. It's the embodiment piece. Yeah, exactly. It is the embodiment piece, Sherry. It's all about the embodiment. Hi, Chad. Nice to see you. Thanks for being here. I appreciate you. I appreciate your comment, too. Yeah. I'm reviewing the speaking skills in my speaking skills training because today's my final one, my final course. So I want to review some of the things we've done. So starting where you are, I guess, is what I'd say. Where you are with your emotions and using embodiment. And I guess the thing is, as far as the embodiment piece is, my speaking skills training is speaking skills training, but it's embodied speaking skills. And I don't know, there's something I have to think through in terms of how which is nested where. I think embodiment is naturally part of my speaking skills training, just like masculine feminine polarity is part of my speaking skills training. But the top level of my speaking skills training is about finding your voice and taking up space as an act of self-reclamation. Allowing yourself to be witnessed in your vulnerability. It connects people. Yes, exactly. And it's one of the stories that I tell. I had this amazing acting teacher named Alan Langdon when I was at Circle in the Square in New York City. And he said something that always stayed with me. And that is that for actors, this is from an acting perspective, but it applies. And that is that, when you're doing a script, you've memorized the lines. And, that's another thing. We did written language to spoken language, which is a unique and challenging skill in and of itself. So when you're acting, you've memorized the lines, you know every single line. In fact, you can even do an Italian run through, which is when you read through the lines and you say them as fast as you can, because a good actor knows all their lines when they do it, when they get onto stage or when they get into a scene. But what he said was, you can't play the role as if you already know all the lines. And the same is true of speaking, and the same is true especially when you're reading a script. Yes, you know the words because they're right there in front of you. You just have to look down and say them. Or if you've memorized it, they're in your head, right there, ready to be said. People are so afraid of taking up space, of the power that it confers to take up space, to be in a pause, because it's a powerful thing to hold a pause and very vulnerable. But what Alan Langdon said is that when you allow the audience to see you discover what's next, to see you discover what the next words are, to see you discover where you're heading next, you give them the gift of intimacy with you. You let them see you. So he talked about how when we let a person see us discover our next feeling, discover what we're going to say, discover the line, we give them the gift of knowing us a little more. Stillness is very powerful and a hard part of acting. It's so true. Same with dance. One of the things that I've heard, and I'm a beginner dancer, but one of the things I've heard leaders say, they like to dance with followers who are willing to wait, and watch and be in the moment. So there's something about presence, about being in the moment in all art forms and possibly in all of life. Something that allows for deeper connection with ourselves and with each other. So yes, super powerful. Hi, Cat. All right. Okay, let's see. I've got 15 minutes. Let me see if there's anything else. Embodied speaking allows, mirror neurons, the impact of mirror neurons. Now, you might have felt this a little bit in this live. I try when I'm teaching acting. I try when I'm teaching speaking to illustrate what it is I'm talking about. So if I'm talking about a skill set, I will do my best to embody it and speak from that place at the same time. So what I'm saying is aligned with what I'm talking about. So if I'm talking about speed, I'll talk about that sometimes you have to talk super fast, and sometimes staccato with pause. Or if I'm talking about pause, you'll see me do it. And the reason for that is I've experienced that in my speaking coaching, that mirror neurons have an incredible impact. That by my speaking, by embodying the message I'm sharing, that the person I'm coaching can turn around and embody it almost immediately. So I've experienced that in a 20-minute speaking coaching session, people can have a profound shift in their speaking skill that they experience in their body. And once they experience it in their body, it doesn't go away. They have it, they own it, it's theirs. It's a surrender, yeah. Interestingly, if you're talking about pause, I've always found that when I pause, people jump and interrupting, taking over the conversation. So let's talk about that for a second. I only have a couple more minutes, but I do want to talk about that for a second. It's a little bit combined with what Kat's saying, that when you pause, people will take over the conversation, and that it's a surrender. Because I think you're talking about pause also, Sherry. Sometimes it is time for people to take over. We're in dialogue with people, so sometimes if you pause, maybe it is a good time, and you can ride that wave as a dialogue or as a conversation. But I'm going to hold that if you get good at pause, and what being good at pause isn't just surrender. It is surrender, but it's taking up space in a very authoritative way. And if you can get good at using pause in a way where you are filling that pause with presence and connection with yourself, with your message, and with your listener. If you can fill that pause with intrigue, people will be less likely to interrupt you because they want to know what you're going to say. Now, if you pause and you're not embodying the pause, you're not owning that pause, you're not filling that pause, it might be an invitation for someone else to start speaking, and that might well be the right thing. So again, communication and dialogue is a dialogue, so it's not always true. And sometimes you're going to be filling that pause with power, and someone's going to run right over you because they didn't even feel it. They weren't even aware of it. So the thing about holding a pause is that it can feel very vulnerable for people because it is powerful. And the truth is that most of us are not used to taking up that much space. The kind of space and authority and confidence that a pause can communicate can be uncomfortable for people. So it's a process. Jump in and interrupt. You should be on a speaking tour. Maybe one day I will. Yes, taking up space. It's commanding. Exactly. When we expect second part after pause, most likely we will not start speaking. Exactly, Tina. Exactly, Tina has it exactly right. If you're just pausing because you feel uncomfortable, I don't know. If you're not really owning that pause, then it's possible that people will interrupt you. But if you make it clear that this pause is part of the conversation, it's like notes in music. The rests are part of the music, and they're an extremely important part of the music. So you don't see the silence that are rests in between music as being a stop from music. No, it's part of the texture of the music. The silence is part of the communication, and the pause is the same thing. When you fill a pause, the pause is not nothing. The pause is not an actual pause. In fact, maybe I need to make up a new word for it. Anthony, thank you. Pausing allows the viewer to form their own opinion of the scene. Exactly, that's exactly right. It allows them to process what you're thinking, to decide if they agree with it, to have a different thought, to think of an alternative. Yeah. All right, I'm going to just do a fast look to see if there's anything else that I missed. I don't think so. Articulation, talked about that. Developing lily pads, of course. My lily pad model of content development. Also talk about throwing out normal and natural when we're developing a new skill. People always say, but I don't want to sound natural when I'm speaking. This isn't going to sound natural. I'm like, throw the normal and natural out the window when you are learning a new skill. Sometimes you have to go wild and big. You have to do a 10-second pause. You have to speak really, really quickly in order to build that new skill. Okay, dynamics and pacing, power of eye contact. Okay, we didn't talk about, oh my gosh, it's a lot of things I got to review. Eye contact, especially on camera. Sometimes that means cheating it. In the film business, sometimes you have a little dot somewhere, or someone's holding their hand up to show you where you need to look. Sometimes we need to cheat where our eyes are looking in order that the person we are speaking to feels like they are being seen. Eye contact releases oxytocin and creates connection between people. When are you doing another one of these courses? I don't know when I'll do another one. Follow me, Kat, and maybe make a note to me, and I'll put you on a list. Actually, if you go to my website, lisalacroix.com, there is a place where you can sign up for my mailing list, which I'll let people know when if I do it again. Thank you for being here to witness and help me think through my review. And I hope you all have a beautiful day, and that you can hold this crazy world we're living in right now and a little bit of lightness, and know that even in the midst of all of the pain and challenge and anxiety and uncertainty and suffering, that the smallest thing that you do, whether it's say a nice word to another person or smile at them, makes a difference, and that's enough. Thanks. It's always a pleasure listening to you speak. Thank you. Mwah. Okay. Love to you all. Have a great day.